Travis Doe felt his eyes slipping shut. The boy yawned and put his hands under his head, getting comfortable on the piled-up carnival costumes. He didn't fight the pleasant feeling, falling into a warm, soft, feathered dream. His drowsy thoughts turned to the Santa Claus coat hanging somewhere in the wardrobe, left by their physical education teacher after yesterday's rehearsal. The coat could serve as a blanket, but he was too lazy to get up. The boy was in his usual place, a small room behind the assembly hall. While the school ensemble preferred to rehearse on stage or in the sports hall, this room was where the little artists changed clothes, practiced their roles, applied makeup, and waited for their time while peeking at the ongoing performances. Travis often stayed in this den after school to wait for his mother, Helen, the new music and culture teacher. She had been tasked with producing the holiday play and its musical accompaniment. For as long as Travis could remember, his mother adored participating in all school events, staying up late, working on scripts and planning costumes. This year, she tried to convince Travis to audition, but he refused, already unpopular with some of his classmates, so that he wasn't about to speed-run his social elimination by playing a wolf or bunny in the school matinee. Travis yawned again and turned onto his side, tucking his hand under his cheek. His secluded, dark corner smelled of wood shavings, cardboard and paint, remnants from the senior students' recent work on New Year's play decorations. His mother had conceived a New Year's fairy tale based on The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. In her adaptation, Dorothy and her dream team journeyed not to Emerald City, but to New Year's Land, seeking a festive mood stolen by an evil sorceress. With rehearsal still 2 hours away, Travis had time to sleep. He could have used the time productively, doing homework or studying for tomorrow's chemistry test, but sleep felt more urgent now. Just then the big door to the assembly hall creaked and groaned. Footsteps indicated 2 people entering. "Looks like we're first," a girl's voice said. "You stay here, please, then we'll go home." The boy's drowsiness vanished. He opened his eyes sharply, restraining himself from jumping up. The familiar voice made his heart race. It belonged to Brenda. Travis fidgeted, unconsciously touching his cheekbone, where a whimsical green frog band-aid covered a fresh wound. Brenda had applied it to him during the long break today, explaining, "I always carry a first aid kit because my little brother's always getting hurt. Sorry, but he only likes cartoon band-aids. And we're out of Spider-Man. Just frogs and unicorns left." Travis had only managed an awkward shrug in response. Brenda had been so close he could have counted her eyelashes and spotted the light freckles on her cheeks, if he'd dared to meet her eyes. Instead, he focused on the butterfly-like touch of her fingers on Travis's burning skin. Her fingers were slim and musical, cool and gentle. She smelled of fruity shampoo, with a hint of school cafeteria. "That's it. Now you're good as new. Try to avoid fights, okay? Your mum would worry." Brenda had sighed, shaking her head. Travis gently touched the bruise. "Thanks," he nodded, still avoiding her gaze. "I'll tell her I fell at a physical training lesson. Again." The boy's confused expression betrayed how unconvincing this excuse had become. Since transferring to the new school, he seemed to have forgotten how to stay on his feet, regularly sporting black eyes. Brenda laughed. "Do you think Mrs. Doe believes that you're clumsy? Our gym teacher practically worships you. You're his best athlete. I bet Mr. Neville's New Year's wish will be for you to join the athletics team." She shook her head while putting away the first aid supplies. "You know, that's why all our guys are upset. Nobody likes being outperformed on all fronts. "Well, they'll have to get used to it," Travis snapped, unable to contain himself any longer. Brenda studied her stubborn classmate with interest. Travis had transferred to their class in September after his parents' divorce, when they sold their large apartment and went their separate ways. Travis's mother took a flat in a decent residential neighbourhood. It was smaller but cosy, with everything one could need nearby, from a supermarket and clinic to a school and beauty parlour. Helen Doe was sure that the move and change of scenery would be good for everyone. At first it was. Travis, while renovating his room, distracted himself from thoughts of his father's betrayal. The man had been living with 2 families for 2 years, and even had a small child there. Then September came, a time to go to a new school. Nothing foreshadowed trouble. Travis was handsome, cheerful and athletic. He played guitar, enjoyed basketball and studied well. Yet in the new school, such a talented guy wasn't welcomed by everyone. While the girls immediately noticed the newcomer, the boys began grinding their teeth, perhaps from jealousy, perhaps something else. Do high school boys really need a reason to fight? At that age, boys were like walking cans of petrol. Strike a match, say one wrong word, and flames burst out. Paul, the unofficial leader of the class, became Travis's main rival. Like a pack leader sensing competition, he began going out of his way to prove his superiority. Initially, Travis ignored his classmates' ridicule and antics, seeing them as childish and beneath his attention. But recently, Paul had managed to find Travis's weak spot. Travis's Achilles' heel became his mother, who was a music and culture teacher at his new school. The boy deeply loved her. She was a wonderful woman and a marvellous teacher who genuinely loved children and her work. Moreover, Mrs. Doe was young and stylish. No wonder high school students never missed world art culture lessons. Sometimes, though, they crossed boundaries. Paul would make crude jokes about the teacher. What started as hormone-driven teenage pranks escalated when Travis made a serious mistake. Upon hearing Paul discussing his mother, he attacked his classmate with his fists. Despite the beating Paul received, he didn't stop. Having discovered how to provoke the usually level-headed Travis, he began mentioning his mother more frequently. Today, after the world art culture lesson, Paul loudly commented about Mrs. Doe's new buttoned dress and his desire to undo it. Travis, walking behind, shoved his classmate hard, and the usual fight unfolded. The girls separated them. Brenda, the class president, was insisting they visit the medical office, but the stubborn boys, believing scars make men, went to class instead. That's why Brenda took the injured Travis under her caring wing at their shared desk. By the way, Brenda was the only person who tried to reason with Paul, always taking Travis's side. She'd also been the first person Travis met at the new school, having missed orientation due to illness. When he arrived at the teacher's room where his mother was, Brenda was there too. "Oh, Travis, perfect timing. Brenda, good, you're here," the class teacher said. "Travis is new to your class. Take him along, show him around, give him a tour." Brenda turned, studying the newcomer with interest. That's likely when it hit Travis. The once sociable boy became tongue-tied. His brain turned to mush, his limbs to cotton, and when Brenda smiled, openly and sincerely, he nearly had heart failure. Travis ended up sharing a desk with the class president, much to the other boys' displeasure. Brenda was known to receive the most Valentine's cards, yet remained down to earth. She was a good student, struggling only with algebra. Brenda was most passionate about school activities, participating in competitions, plays and concerts. This probably explained her quick rapport with Mrs. Doe. But interaction with the teacher's son proved challenging. Travis criticised himself for his behaviour, but couldn't help it. His brain ceased functioning around Brenda, along with every other organ. His lungs forgot to breathe, his heart lost rhythm, and his palms embarrassingly sweated. Now Brenda reached for a pencil that rolled between their chairs. They both leaned forward and bumped heads. She laughed, rubbing her forehead. Travis blushed, but retrieved the runaway pencil. "Thanks," Brenda nodded, then touched his forehead. "Are you feeling all right, Travis? Your face is red. They say flu's going around." "Give him a kiss into his tiny brain, Brenda," called Paul, watching jealously from the back. "If I must, I'll kiss you," Brenda grumbled, rolling her eyes. She withdrew her hand and stopped questioning Travis, busying herself with her bag. Travis noticed her ears turning pink. "Why not care about me, Mother Teresa? He split my lip. You should kiss me instead," Paul persisted. "No way," she hummed, tossing her long hair back. "You earned that." Brenda's honey-red hair was thick and beautiful. Travis had never noticed it quite like this before. Her eyes were tea-brown with darker flecks, like leaves swirling in a cup. Brenda and Paul continued trading barbs until the biology teacher entered. The students settled into their seats. "Quiet down, everyone. I know New Year's is approaching, but let's focus. We have a fascinating topic today, the basics of genetics," said the teacher. After the lesson, Paul, going out into the corridor for a break, pushed Travis with his shoulder and muttered in his ear, "Don't get too excited. Brenda is coddling you like a beaten puppy. Don't count on more than that. She was always too kind." Travis, not intending to waste his vocabulary on the bully, explained himself by gestures, showing Paul his middle finger. "Travis, what is this?" the teacher gasped, noticing the obscene gesture. "Nothing bad, miss," the boy found himself quickly. "The thing is that in Japan, the middle finger is not an insult, but a brotherly gesture. In the context of Japanese sign language, it means older brother. Paul has become like a brother to me. I wouldn't be surprised if we had been separated at the maternity hospital. He's such a warm-hearted and nice guy." There was laughter in the class. Paul turned green and pretended to vomit. "I'm certainly glad you have such feelings, boys, but remember, we're not in Japan." Karen Evans hummed, shaking her head and leaving the classroom. Travis hummed, and then he was clapped on the shoulder. Not hard, but in a friendly way. "Funny," Sam praised him with a smile. "I should take your story into account." Travis was surprised because usually Sam did not communicate with him. It appears that Brenda was right. The guys will get used to him. Later, Sam came again, asked to teach him to play the guitar. "I heard you play in the music hall. I would like to impress a girl, Jenny Harper." He was embarrassed. "Will you help me?" "No problem," Travis smiled. Travis's mood became a little better. After all, Brenda took care of him, and the guys began to thaw. Even the clash with Paul was no longer making him angry. However, the cherry on the cake was the appearance of Brenda in the rehearsal room. And why didn't he think that she would definitely want to participate in the play? What an idiot! He should have agreed to his mother's request. Travis froze, not knowing what to do. Come out of hiding? Wouldn't it look strange? From the den, he could go out into the school corridor and then return to the assembly hall through the main entrance. Travis wanted to do so, but for some reason he froze, listening to the conversation between brother and sister. Yes, it was the younger brother Johnny that Brenda had brought with her to the rehearsal. Usually they walked home together, with Brenda always holding her younger brother's hand. Travis heard that the boy was only in the 1st grade. "Who are you going to play?" asked the child, sitting down in the audience chair. "Dorothy," answered Brenda. "It's the lead role." "Are you going to get a cake like last time? It was so delicious." The boy sighed dreamily. Brenda laughed. "No, they gave me a pie for winning a sports competition. Now I'm just going to play and please kids like you." It appears that she tickled her brother because Johnny giggled and then asked for mercy. "And is Christmas Eve coming soon?" the boy persisted. "Only a week left, just a little bit more." "Really? But we don't have a Christmas tree." The little boy was frightened. "And I haven't written a letter to Santa Claus. He won't know what I want." Brenda was silent for a moment. It was as if she were gathering her thoughts or even her strength. "Johnny, dear," she began in a strange tone, so unlike her usual cheerful talk, "we're not going to have a Christmas tree this year. We don't have a tree or ornaments for it." "What?" The 1st grader was frightened. "Brenda, but how could we? We used to have a Christmas tree. Why can't we decorate it?" Tears trembled in the boy's voice. Brenda sighed long. Travis, unable to bear it, got up from his peculiar recliner and went to the door to look through the crack. Brenda was squatting opposite her brother. He was sitting in an armchair, frowning at his sister. "Johnny, the Christmas tree was taken away from us. There's no money for a new one. They cost as much as an airplane wing, honestly, and the toys cost even more." "Who stole our Christmas tree? The Grinch?" the child wondered. Brenda smiled weakly, shook her head. "Alas, but no. Johnny, you don't need to think about it. You are small. You will not understand yet." Travis thought about it. His mother made him drag a huge artificial fir tree and heavy boxes with toys and decorations to their new flat. She simply adored New Year's Eve. He remembered how he had complained that the tree was too big and wouldn't fit in their new flat. "There's always room for a Christmas tree," Mum had parried then, smiling broadly. Meanwhile the little boy sniffed. "No, I'm adult. Who took our Christmas tree? Tell me, please." Brenda scratched the back of her nose, then confessed, "But don't talk to Mum about it, okay? Remember when Dad's sister came to visit us, Aunt Ira? Well, in general, when a person goes to heaven, some relatives start dividing his things," she cautiously explained. "Aunt Ira declared that the toys belonged to their parents, so they were hers. Although there were a lot of Mum's toys, and she and Dad had chosen the Christmas tree together, but Mum didn't fight with her. She didn't even know that Aunt Ira had taken everything from the attic." In the girl's voice trembled resentment and pain. "Brenda, but without a Christmas tree?" "Wrong. And where will Santa put our presents?" the boy asked with trembling voice. "Nowhere, Johnny. This year we'll do without presents," Brenda answered deadly. "Have I behaved badly?" Johnny was scared. "No, of course not. You're an excellent boy. Just not always do miracles happen with good people. They only happen in fairy tales, and you and I grew out of them, you know? And for you, this year, we decided to ask Santa for clothes. Your jacket is too small for you, as well as your winter trousers. You're growing up fast." "No!" The child stubbornly stuck out his lip. "I'm only 7 years old. I'm still a little boy. I want to write a letter. I want a Christmas tree. I want to decorate it like we used to. It was so much fun. Remember?" "Like we used to," Brenda burst out. "We used to dress it up with Daddy. Johnny, but Daddy's not coming back. He's in heaven." Travis felt a prick in his heart. He and Mum would have their first New Year's Eve without their father, However, their dad turned out to be a bad man. And what happened to Brenda's family? "Daddy looks down on us from the sky," the little boy frowned. "He'll be offended if we didn't put up the Christmas tree. He loved the holidays, and he always said I should believe in miracles. If you believe in them, they will happen, and if you don't believe, nothing good will happen." Brenda got to her feet, pacing back and forth. Travis froze. He had never seen her like this. The girl had always seemed eternally cheerful, kind, responsive, never nervous or worried. But now her face was unrecognizable. Her brown eyes brimmed with emotions, resentment, anger, pain. They all poured out suddenly, as if Brenda's fuses had blown. "Listen, Johnny, enough! Stop believing in fairy tales. Just don't expect the presents you want under the tree this year. We don't have the money for that. We've got enough problems as it is. Can't you see Grandma's sick? Mum's worried about her, and she's working too hard. Her boss is a complete fool. We're still in debt. I wanted to help, to get a part-time job. She won't even hear of it. She keeps saying that my job is to study and help with you." She finished the tirade and, hearing a stifled sob, shuddered. Her face softened and the girl knelt before her brother, taking his hands in hers. "Johnny, please forgive me. I didn't mean to upset you. It's just, well, I'm sorry, okay? We'll work something out, right?" She hugged the boy comfortingly. "Maybe I'll ask the guys and we can find a little Christmas tree, and we'll make the decorations ourselves. What do you think? It'll be even better." "Will there be presents underneath it?" the boy asked, still holding out hope for magic. Brenda gulped. She looked into the child's wet eyes. He, too, was red-haired and brown-eyed, like his sister. Brenda ruffled his hair. "Something will turn up. After all, you're such a good boy," she said, hiding the pain behind a smile. The boy brightened. His sister wiped the tears from his face with her palms. At that moment the door opened again, and 3 teachers entered the hall. Behind them the schoolchildren followed, dragging boxes with unknown contents. "Oh, the protagonist is already here," Helen exclaimed when she saw Brenda. "Well, we'd better wait for Santa Claus." "You know, Helen, I can't understand," muttered the math teacher, sitting down in the empty chair. "How did you persuade our Bill Neville to play Santa Claus? He can't stand it." "I just asked and he agreed," Helen shrugged. The math teacher clucked her tongue. "You just asked? I can't believe it. I've been asking him to fix the shelf in the classroom for 3 years, but he has no time. And he's never been in a play." "Don't listen to her, she's jealous," giggled the physics teacher. "Our Bill is an enviable bachelor. There aren't many of them in our women's collective. You can see that he likes you." Helen was embarrassed. Travis was too. He liked the gym teacher, though he was too pushy, calling him all the time to competitions. But Travis didn't even know that Mr. Neville had a soft spot for his mum. No, too many secrets he had learned sitting in this den. Travis slipped out through the second door and then entered the main hall properly. His mother, seeing him, brightened. "Have you changed your mind? Please say yes. We don't have enough male characters." "Indeed. Why would that be?" Travis snorted. "After all, everyone dreams of being Toto or Cowardly Lion, right?" Just then the future Dorothy appeared next to Travis's mum. The girl smiled welcomingly. Travis tried to fix traces of former sadness in her face, but in vain. She skillfully concealed them. "Come on, Travis, you'll make a fine tin man," she said. "Because I have no heart? Well, thank you for not making me the brainless scarecrow." Travis grinned crookedly, feeling his defences cracking. "No," the girl laughed. You've read the book, haven't you? The Tin Man, on the contrary, had the biggest and most sensitive heart. I always liked him best." And Travis gave in. He was completely won over. His mum was almost jumping with happiness. The role of Toto, who was also unoccupied and didn't have many lines, was given to Johnny. The boy was very proud of his new role. He did his best, barking especially amusingly and sonorously. The rehearsal went well. Then Travis helped his mum gather their things and said he would wait for her outside. He went to the changing room. There, before he could put on his jacket, he heard Brenda and her brother again. "Brenda, I think I lost my mittens." Something fell with a thud in the far corner. Brenda must have dropped her bag. "Honey, are you going to cry? You can't cry, it's freezing outside." Travis moved toward the exit with a last glance over his shoulder. Brenda, kneeling and not minding the dirty floor, stood before her brother. She pulled her white fluffy mittens over his little hands. "They're for girls," Johnny sighed gloomily. "Don't be silly. White is the right colour for everyone. Besides, the cold won't know whose fingers they are, a boy's or a girl's. Oh, come on, put them on." "What about you? It's very freezing." The boy was indignant. "I'm all right. I'm older." Brenda waved him away, pulling her hood over her head. Travis waited for Brenda and her brother at the school gate. In his pocket he clutched his gloves, feeling excited. As soon as Brenda reached them, he quickly approached, not giving himself a chance to change his mind. "Brenda," he called out to her. She turned around and smiled. "Are you still here? Are you waiting for your mum?" Travis nodded and took a pair of black gloves out of his pocket. "Here, it's cold today. I'm sorry I was in the changing room too," he said, averting his gaze. Brenda blinked in confusion. She didn't immediately see the gloves in the boy's hands, first noticing his battered knuckles. Travis looked cautiously in her direction, watching snowflakes fall on her shoulders and the hair that had escaped her hood. Brenda's cheeks flushed with a blush that had nothing to do with the cold. "Beautiful," said the Travis's heart once more. "Come on, take them," he smiled, suddenly calm rather than his usual nervous self. "What about you?" "My hands are warm," grinned Travis. "Brenda, I'll put them on you if you refuse." The girl laughed softly and put on the gloves with tenderness in her eyes. They were too big. Brenda playfully clenched and unclenched her fingers. "Thank you. They're warm." She looked into Travis's eyes. "I was right, telling you that Tin Man had a huge heart." Travis really wanted to ask what had happened in her family. More than that, though, he wanted to help her. He wished Brenda would always smile genuinely, not hide behind a mask. "Travis, there you are. Mr. Neville decided to give us a lift. Isn't it great?" The boy's mother came out of the gate, followed by the gym teacher. Travis glanced at the man, who was smiling broadly and genuinely. "Great," he drawled. "I need to gather more teachers around me, so I can become the favourite of my classmates faster. Maybe we should bring a math teacher." "Travis!" Helen shook her head. Brenda snorted with laughter. "Brenda, do you want a lift?" Mr. Neville offered. "No, we live close by, and I promised my brother I'd make a snowman. Now I can because I have gloves," said the girl cheerfully. "See you tomorrow, Travis." Travis slyly winked her goodbye, shoving his hands in his jacket pockets. The girl blushed again and waved with her gloved hand. In the car, the boy had an idea. He leaned forward between the passengers and the driver's seats. "Mum, we have to give away our Christmas tree, and if you haven't bought my Christmas present yet, I would rather accept the money. Is it okay? I have some saved, but it might not be enough." "What?" Helen gasped. "What kind of teenage rebellion is this?" And why do you need money? Look, I don't know what happened at their family, but they have no Christmas tree, no decorations, and her brother is so sweet and small. He still believes in Santa Claus. He shouldn't lose his faith in miracles like that. I want to buy presents for them." The boy grew more passionate as he spoke, his thoughts tumbling out. Helen listened attentively, a mysterious smile on her face. "Travis, have you fallen in love?" she asked when the schoolboy finished his speech. "Mum, I just want to help her." Travis blushed deeply, sinking back into his seat. The gym instructor cleared his throat and joined the conversation. "Last year their father fell ill. He lost his battle with cancer quickly." Bill sighed, watching the road. "I don't know much, but I heard the relatives caused chaos at the funeral with their demands. Instead of remembering the deceased, they started fighting over property. Their aunt showed up, claiming their parents had always loved her more, that she deserved everything because of that. She took whatever wasn't nailed down. Zoe, their mother, was too devastated to fight back. She works at the market. I've seen her a few times. She's lost a lot of weight." After listening to the teacher, the boy looked at his mum expectantly. "Mum, that evil aunt even took their Christmas tree. By the way, what do we need such a huge tree for? We barely have room for it anyway. But it would make them so happy. Isn't that what holidays are about? Making people happy?" "What do you suggest? Just show up with a tree? That would be strange," Helen mused. "No," Travis smiled wider, sensing his mum's support. "I was thinking we could hire someone to play Santa Claus." "Why hire anyone?" Mr. Neville protested. "I've been told I make an excellent Santa Claus." Travis felt a surge of gratitude and even warmth toward Mr. Neville. "All right, let him look after my mum. He seemed like a good man." "You know, I could be the Snow Maiden," Mum said excitedly. "And we'll make you, Travis, a reindeer," joked the gym teacher, glancing at the boy in the rear-view mirror. Travis clicked his tongue, deciding he'd think more about whether he wanted such a stepfather. Still, the mood in the car had brightened considerably. Bill Neville was even invited for tea, since he was now part of their holiday mission. From then on, Travis could hardly wait for the Christmas Eve. Mr. Neville found Zoe at the market and said about the planned surprise. He later said the woman couldn't hold back her tears when she heard their plan. School Christmas celebrations got a standing ovation, with Brenda shining especially bright. Before leaving school, Travis approached little Toto and, shaking his hand, asked, "What would you ask Santa Claus for?" The boy thought for a moment, then raised his innocent eyes at Travis. "I wrote him a letter. We all wrote them in class. Only I didn't send it, and I didn't let Brenda check it for mistakes, or she'd get upset." "Can you give it to me? I'll check it and send it," Travis offered. The high school student in his Tin Man costume inspired trust in the boy. He took the letter from his school notebook. "Here." Travis tucked the paper in his pocket and patted the boy's head. "Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. I'll make sure your letter gets delivered. But it's our secret, okay?" The little boy beamed and nodded. And so Christmas Eve came. While the world slept, a miracle visited Johnny's flat. It didn't come through the window or down the chimney, but through a carefully opened, quietly creaking door. "Brenda!" squealed Johnny, jumping on his sister's bed. "My God, Johnny, what time is it? What are you doing up so early?" The girl startled awake. "Brenda!" The boy started bouncing on the mattress. "It's Christmas today, and a miracle has happened. You said there would be no Christmas tree, but there is. A huge one! It's full of ornaments, balls, toy animals, candy, even cars." "Are you sick or what?" the girl mumbled sadly. They had a Christmas tree, but a poor one, just a few branches Brenda had brought inside and clustered together, decorated with homemade toys. "Let's go! Get up! Come on, I'll show you!" The child hooted excitedly, grabbing his sister's limp arm and pulling her from under the blanket. "Where are you dragging me?" muttered the girl, her bare feet slapping on the cold floor. As she reached the living room, she was shocked. Her sleep-swollen eyes widened. There stood the Christmas tree, beautiful and colourful. "There are presents here," Johnny announced. He ran to the tree and touched the toys carefully, as if afraid they might disappear, then stepped back to admire it again. "I didn't open the presents. Mummy said to wait for you," the boy told her. Brenda, blinking, shifted her gaze to her mother and grandmother. They were both already dressed at this hour, dressed up even. Grandma had put on her best scarf, as if renewed with strength, and Mum had even applied lipstick. Miracles indeed. The women smiled as they watched the children. "Mum, but how? From where?" Brenda whispered, unable to believe her eyes. Zoe smiled slyly. How long had it been since she had smiled like that? After losing her husband, she had always been tired, and now it was as if her strength had returned to her, or perhaps a belief in miracles. "Can we switch on the lights?" Johnny asked, jumping up and down beside the Christmas tree. "No," Mum smiled mysteriously. "Only Santa Claus can do that." And then, as if obeying her voice, came a knock at the door. Not a ring, but a knock. Boom, boom, boom. "Johnny, run, open up." Zoe clapped her hands. "Who could that be?" Brenda staggered back into the corridor in shock, then followed her brother. Johnny had already grabbed the doorknob and pulled it down, letting in the cold air. "Well, hello, hello," Santa Claus said, leaning on his staff and dragging in a sack of presents. "Do the boy Johnny and the girl Brenda live here?" Brenda covered her mouth with her palms. She didn't know whether to cry or laugh. She recognised the PE teacher immediately, though naive Johnny clearly saw him as a real wizard. Next to Mr. Neville stood the Snow Maiden, their lovely, sweet-looking music teacher. How pretty she was in her blue coat. And then Travis entered the flat. He was smiling, embarrassed but genuinely happy, wearing funny antlers on his head. Travis met his classmate's gaze and winked at her again. Brenda felt hundreds of butterflies flutter in her stomach. The festive morning at their house turned out magical. And what extraordinary presents Santa Claus delivered from his sack. "Ah, I got your letter, Johnny," said the man. "Snow Maiden, read us his wish list." The music teacher took out a piece of paper and read what Johnny wanted for Christmas. "Dear Santa, I love you very much and I am waiting for you. Please make my family happy. Bring Grandma a beautiful dressing gown because she has an old one. Perfume for Mum. She loves perfume. And for my sister Brenda, a beautiful princess dress. And you can give me nothing," the boy had written. While Helen read and Johnny's family fought back tears, Travis and Santa Claus were already distributing presents. In the bag were a dressing gown, perfume, and even a dress and cosmetics for Brenda. "Well, Johnny, for you, with such a kind heart, we chose presents ourselves," Santa Claus told the delighted boy, nodding toward the tree. "They're all yours." Johnny received a railway set with a cool train, a teddy bear dressed as a footballer, because Johnny dreamed of playing football, a new ball and new gloves. When it was time to bid farewell, Johnny hugged Santa Claus and Snow Maiden. Travis, as a reindeer, got a child's hug too. While Johnny was distracted by presents, Zoe quietly asked her guests, "Will you come to celebrate with us? We'll set the table. It's the least I can do to repay your kindness." "No repayment needed, but we'd love to spend the holiday together," smiled Helen. "I'll bring treats too." Bill nodded, giving the woman a tender look. All the guests left. Brenda, forgetting she was still in her pyjamas and barefoot, rushed after Travis to the stairwell. Her bare heels felt cold on the entryway floor. "Travis!" she called out. The boy turned back to her floor. "Why did you run out? You'll catch a cold," she scolded gently. Brenda stood on tiptoes, her heart pounding, and kissed him on the cheek. "Thank you," she breathed. "Thank you so much." Travis touched the spot where the frog band-aid had once been and where now the girl's kiss burned. "And they say dreams don't come true." He smiled. "Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Brenda." They all spent New Year's Eve together. Families who might have faced a difficult and sad holiday instead cheered and rejoiced at the coming year. Now they all believed in miracles and that only joy awaited them. And then every year that followed was happy. Bill Neville and Helen Doe married. He became a wonderful stepfather to Travis. Soon the couple had a daughter, whom Travis adored. Zoe too found happiness, though it took time. Johnny played football and kept his belief in miracles. And Travis and Brenda carried their tender, fragile first love feeling through the years, protecting it all their lives and meeting every Christmas together. Now Brenda knew with certainty that magic was real. Except wizards aren't the heroes of fairy tales. They're the people who love you.